What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Sunday night recap presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Simon, joined by my bass slapping, air guitar playing co-host, John Luke Garofalo, Jay Felicio, and Joey Wright. What's up, boys?
Hello, okay, what's up?
It's been an exciting day of football. My goodness.
Yo, it has been a wild day of football. It's been a wild day of football. I feel like more weeks than not we get on here and we're just like, what the hell happened?
Nobody knows anything. Just all guessing.
And then even the things that I thought were about to start making sense this week fell apart in front of our eyes. The Giants improved to 6-1 yet again.
Freaking Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I guess Matt Rule was the problem, wasn't he? Like,
Christian McCaffrey was the problem. They needed to trade Christian McCaffrey. That's what it was.
He was holding the offense back. It makes complete sense.
So toxic.
Guys, we're going to talk that and the rest of week 7 today. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in between these 4 p.m. games and that Sunday night football game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. We're here to break down some of the fantasy impact from today's games and answer any questions that you guys may have. Throw them in the chat. We would be happy to get to them. Before we start, a couple reminders. First and foremost, if you're watching this stream and you haven't done so already, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to FanDuel on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that like. If you're on Twitch, hit that follow button. And then check out FanDuel across all of their social platforms. You can find them on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You type in @FanDuel in all of these places. You're going to find an awesome account with a team of killer content creators helping you guys win some money and win some cash. So make sure you follow them everywhere over there. We got some people in the chat ready for today's show.
Can we say hi to him?
Scamper's in here. What's up, Mr. Scamper? Says, hi, guys. Sorry, I didn't want the Panthers to win either.
What up, Scampers?
Oh, yeah. We were talking Bucks, and I forgot to I legitimately forgot that was probably painful for you to watch, Joey, as a Bucks fan. I think
I was.
So the thing is, I've been a Bucks fan for a very long time. So, like, I'm not one of these new Brady Bucks fans that just seem to have all come aboard. So, like, I'm very used to laughing at my team. And so, like, when it was happening today, it was just like, here's my comfort zone. Here's what I know with the Bucks. Let's laugh. Let's have a good time today.
I like the little the come aboard joke. That was nice. That was well played.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I abandoned ship earlier because I'm wearing a Steelers jersey.
Just jumped on it.
I have a lot more pirate themed humor for the rest of the show. I don't want to spoil it all in the front.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, keep the pirate jokes rolling. Jay Wall in the chat with the NFC Beast.
Right.
You know what? It's been 7 weeks. I'm not gonna say they're not anymore. I'm
done being wrong.
Simon, I'm a Giants fan, and I don't know what to think of this team. I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. I'm just enjoying the ride.
Yeah, you got it, right? You got to just enjoy it. Guys, let's start talking about some of these games. We have games going on right now, some of them still in the fourth quarter. First game I wanted to hit, Kansas City Chiefs playing the San Francisco 49ers. There's about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs are up 37-23. And the big story from this game is the debut of Christian McCaffrey as a San Francisco 49er. Through 3 quarters, he has 8 carries for 38 yards, and he's been involved in the passing game as well. 2 targets, 2 receptions for 24 yards, and this is after being traded to them on Monday. So we heard that he was going to get worked into this offense on limited packages. There's only so much of the playbook he can learn in a week, but this has got to be promising if you are a Christian McCaffrey rosterer who is nervous about the new location. If they're getting him this involved after like less than a week with the team, they're going to use him as a workhorse back every single down. I'm excited to see CMC on this.
He's officially a part of the team on Friday. So 2.5 days. So,
he didn't even do new hire paperwork. He just showed up and he's like, all right, I'm ready to.
This is a handshake.
No HR orientation, any of that.
No. He didn't watch any of the videos. No, just
they were saying they sent him the playbook. Like he asked for it as he was boarding his flight so he could look it over on the plane ride on the way to San Francisco.
Yeah, I heard a report they just replaced all the copies of Sky Miles with the San Francisco 49ers playbook.
That makes sense. Yeah, and then
all domestic flights now have the San Francisco 49ers playbook.
Guys, open it next time. It's there, and all of you just ignore it every time. The 49ers playbook has been sitting in the back pocket of your Delta flights this entire time.
Right in the middle of Sky Mall.
I miss the Sky Mall. They still have those on flights because those were fantastic.
I think they
now
do.
Everybody they got everybody has their phones and stuff. It used to be all that there was.
You were venturing real close to some of that boom. Back in my day, we ordered a magazine.
We didn't have our phones. Yeah.
This neck pillow with headphones looks pretty cool. I think I'm gonna order this.
If CMC's anything like me, though, he got the 49ers playbook all ready to go to study on the flight. He was so excited. And then he fell asleep 30 seconds before the plane took off and then got landed and was like, yeah, I spent some time reading it. I was reading it. And
it's going to take me some time to really absorb it.
Christian McCaffrey, if you had any concerns, he's Christian McCaffrey, and he is going to absolutely kill it on this team. George Kittle getting pretty involved in this game as well, which was exciting to see. 9 targets, 6 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. We've been waiting for him. He's kind of been the underperforming elite tight end asset, but Trent Williams was back this week. They've got Christian McCaffrey in the offense as another wrinkle. Lo and behold, George Kittle's getting more involved. I think if you've been patiently waiting for George Kittle, you're going to be heavily rewarded over the back half of this season. Jay, I see you nodding along. Are you in agreement? You think there's more like this to come for Kittle?
I am. The thing with Kittle is he has these boom bust games. Out of all the elite tight ends, he either just goes absolutely nuts or is just kind of goes out with a whimper. I definitely think he's going to be more involved, and it's definitely a good thing that Jimmy G's under center for them. But yeah, if you've got George Kittle, you're starting him, and you definitely love to see the performance like you saw today.
You're excited. On the other side of the ball for Kansas City, Joey, I caught as much of the morning show, the pre-gaming with FYF this morning as I could, and it seemed like you were very excited for a Mr. Isaiah Pacheco this week, if I'm not mistaken.
I am still because he's getting carries now. He's had 2 back-to-back 10-yard carries, and they just put CH back in. I still am excited for him. He's been involved in the return game, which has taken him off the field a few times. And right after he's gotten off the field, a few big runs have broken right after he's had big returns. So, we'll see what happens. The San Francisco 49ers run defense is still good. Bosa was back today. So, not all hope is lost, but I'm a little disappointed in what I saw today.
My man, Geek Hippie, what's up? Welcome in. Glad to have you in here. JL, I wanted to follow up with some of these backs. It seems to be a little bit confusing. There were already question marks as CEH in every week starter. His production was not matching the number of carries, his usage, right? Like he was outperforming his usage. Now with Pacheco getting even more involved, probably over the back half of this season, what's a fantasy manager to do? Help me out.
Between Pacheco and Edwards? What are you supposed
to do? Are they
both
startable? Is neither one startable? How are you treating these guys, this Chiefs backfield? Because there's value to be had in a Kansas City Chiefs backfield. I know there is.
There's absolutely value to be had. And what we are seeing here is what we in the biz call a carousel. You got Jerick McKinnon, you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Isaiah Pacheco. They named Isaiah Pacheco the starter this week in what I can only imagine be like as a ploy to somehow shame Clyde Edwards-Helaire into performing better. But the usage was semi-similar, right? 6 carries, 32 yards for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 7 carries, 40 yards for Isaiah Pacheco. I think we're going to see this. I think we're going to see them flip between these guys because why wouldn't they, right? If not a single one of them is standing out, why wouldn't they use all 3 of them?
And Joe, you brought it up. I think it was before the show started, but CEH got the touchdown, but it was off a huge Isaiah Pacheco run that set them up down there, right? Like
I think it was like a 55-yard return, and then CEH ran it in from there.
You'll see that. They've got two guys. There's no need to keep the tired guy on the field. You're going to see it over and over again. We see it with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. We'll probably see it with these two backs as well, where someone after a big play gets taken out, another one comes in and steals that touchdown from them. We can't move on from this game, though, before we mention the player of the game. Congratulations, Joey, who had to start him in Scott Fishbowl because Jalen Hurts was out. Mecole Hardman with 3 touchdowns, and there's still 8 or 6 minutes left in this game. He could add another one, but he has 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. This comes off of 2 carries. And how many targets does he have so far in this game? It can't be too many, right? 4 targets, 4 receptions for 32 yards. So he's turned 4 targets and 2 carries into 3 touchdowns today. Congratulations if you started him. Here's your 2022 Mecole Hardman blow-up game. Joey, are we getting more of these?
Trade him away. Trade him away as fast as you can.
No, but I've never been on the right side of one of these. And I was in a position where, it was bye week, and there was tons of great players on bye week this week. And I remember being in my Scott Fishbowl draft and being like, well, week 7, I'm just going to take a nap. And so I had to start Mecole Hardman in my super flex spot, and I'm happy.
Yeah,
I think he's got like 24 points at this point. So yeah, I'll take that every day.
My favorite fantasy decisions are the ones with no agency, where you're like, well, this is literally all I can do. Like there is not a single other choice I can make, so I'm making this one. And then when it works out, you're like, I knew it the whole time.
I'm a genius. I knew it.
Basically, me and Will Disley this entire season. I started him twice. Yeah, I scored touchdowns twice.
Hey, whatever works. You're the Will Disley whisperer.
The Dizzle whisperer.
The Dizzler, sir. We got Albert in the chat. What's up, Albert? Welcome in. And Geek Hippie said, I'm making 50 cents and 10 cents in my 2 lineups. You add that together and you've got most of $1. Or $60 if you're bad at the symbol that you put in front of it. Slick Vic in the chat. What's up, Vic? Welcome in. Glad to have you here. Vic. Guys, I think it's time to move on to the next game. We got some more of these 4 p.m. games. Seahawks Chargers is the one that I want to talk next. This game's still going on.
Gino just handed it off to Kenneth Walker. The big player in this game is Marquise Goodwin. You see, he's got 2 touchdowns today. Is a 23-yard reception that was really cool. Justin Herbert has not looked great in this game. He's got an interception and a touchdown. Not a whole lot going on here. Kenneth Walker's continuing to produce 22 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. DJ Dallas had a couple good runs. It looked like he was going to get a little more run in the game, and then they took him right out. Put Kenneth Walker back in.
This seems like it's just Kenneth Walker's backfield now. Like whenever you watch these games, like they might plug some players in for additional carries, but I've got so much confidence in this dude as being the guy for the Seahawks.
I want to shout Dave Richard from CBS in the preseason was touting Kenneth Walker as talent-wise. He liked him better than Breece Hall. And not necessarily the landing spot, but talent-wise, just like when Kenneth Walker gets on the field, you guys are going to love him. And through 2 games, I absolutely do love him. He looks great.
He looks fantastic. Marquise Goodwin, when he came down with that second touchdown, I was just like, are you kidding me? Like why another one? And I feel like there was another play where he was targeted in the end zone, right? But was out of bounds, if I'm not mistaken. Like he seems to be a part of this game plan, but maybe that's just because DK Metcalf went out. We also saw DK Metcalf exit this game, but Marquise Goodwin was getting a couple targets beforehand. Is there any update on the DK Metcalf injury? I know we saw him leave and not come back.
When he was getting carted off the field, he was shaking his head at his teammates and saying, I'm fine. And so everybody thought, well, because last year he got carted off to go poop. So they were even saying on the broadcast that it might happen again. But then it came out very quickly and said it's a knee and that he's not going to be coming back.
Yeah, I noticed that. I of course, main thing is we want DK Metcalf healthy, but I just thought it was hilarious that on the broadcast they're talking about, last time this happened, he just had to go poop.
Well, it looks like they just scored again. Who just scored? I missed it. Oh, it was a field goal. Looks like the Seahawks kicked a field goal to go up a little bit right there.
As we were coming on, there was back-to-back safeties. You never see that happen.
Really?
There's 2 safeties right in a row, yeah.
That's absurd. That's absolutely
Justin Herbert's been kind of a disappointment this year, to be honest. Like, he's been fine, but, everybody was expecting him to be that elite quarterback in the tier with Lamar and Mahomes and stuff like that, and he just hasn't been that this year.
I think his rib injury is affecting him more than the Chargers were letting on. I think
Keenan
he's
Allen as well.
I think he's really hurt. Like I think he's significantly more hurt, and it's affecting his gameplay than the Chargers were letting on. But you're right, Jay. He just hasn't looked good. I thought I was rolling pretty in my super flex lineup with Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. Turns out Jalen Hurts was the money pick there, not my Justin Herbert in the first round. It did not work out right there.
I'm looking forward to Herbert getting to his bye week, getting healthy, and then coming out of that bye week, because the first half of the Chargers schedule this year was a little more difficult. I do believe their back half, especially the playoff run, is really nice.
When is their bye week? Coming up soon?
It's next week. Yep.
Next week. Perfectly timed next week.
That's why I was surprised Keenan played today.
Yeah,
I mean, 2 for 11. It's not much playing.
Right.
But.
I mean, he's getting older. He's only got so much time left. He's probably trying to make the most of it.
You make it sound like he's only got like that much time left on Earth, JL.
Just saying, careers aren't forever, Keenan.
Well, you know what?
Savor every game.
The sun sets on everybody eventually, but
especially Keenan Allen.
Let's hit our next game, and we got 2 of these 4:00 games yet. One is over, one is almost over. So let's talk about the one that is over already. This Houston Texans versus Las Vegas Raiders game. I'm mixing up the order on you guys on the fly, but this game is done. The Raiders coming out with a victory, 38-20 over the Houston Texans today.
Yeah, the story of this game is bell cow Josh Jacobs just going nuts. 3 touchdowns. That doesn't count as your animal noise, Simon. I'm sorry. 143 yards. I know, but it just doesn't count either. 3 catches, 12 yards. I wish, man, I tell you what, I was in on Josh Jacobs, and then they drafted Zamir White and signed what's his name from the Brandon Bolden from the Patriots, and I kind of backed off. And man, I honestly, I'm an idiot. I thought that they were just going to go with the Patriots strategy of just a running back carousel. Man, you gotta love what Josh Jacobs is doing. He's an absolute stud. RB1 right now. He's getting all the touches, 20 carries. The next highest was 3, and that was from the quarterback and DJ Turner, who I have no idea who that even is. Derek Carr did leave the game at the early first quarter, but came back in. Devontae Adams is having a nice game. Hunter Renfrow is, got to be kind of disappointed with his production so far this season, but I think a lot of that has to do with Mac Hollins also coming on, caught another touchdown on the Houston Texans side of the ball. Like Joey and I were talking before we got started. Davis Mills, while he did have a good game today, 302 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He's kind of been a little disappointing as well. A lot of people thought he would be that back end QB2 for super flex kind of leagues, and just really hasn't done it this year. But Joey, your guy, Mr. Dameon Pierce, another solid game. While he didn't have a rushing touchdown, 92 rushing yards, 20 carries, 4 catches, 25 yards. You've got to love what he's doing. And
it's over 100 total yards. I believe it's the 4th game in a row. He's over 100 total yards. Like I love this man. Every week I go to my father-in-law. We're in a league together, and I send him Josh Jacobs for Dameon Pierce straight up. Every week I send it to him, and I texted him before we came on the show. I was like, "So, should I even bother sending it this week?" And he said, "Nope." And I'm like, "You're crazy." Like, I think he just knows how much I love him.
And I think now at this point, he's just doing it just to piss you off.
Probably. What? Just give me Dameon Pierce so I can be happy.
Well
like,
done.
You gave me your daughter. Give me Dameon Pierce as well. I want everything.
Gave me your daughter.
If I have Dameon Pierce in any leagues where you have Josh Jacobs, we can make that trade right now.
Okay.
I'll check my rosters if that's the case, because I want Josh Jacobs the rest of the year. But this is a fun running back matchup, right? Yeah. Like, surprisingly, like, these are 2 of the most workhorse back, like, stereotype filling that role running backs in the league right now, where they're seeing all the work for their team. And I don't think at the beginning of the year a bunch of people would have said Dameon Pierce and Josh Jacobs would be facing off as workhorse backs for their offense, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. And, a lot of people have said, because of draft capital, that Dameon Pierce is likely to get replaced next year, similar to what the Jets did with Michael Carter and Jacksonville did with James Robinson. I don't think so, man. Dameon Pierce looks good. I think that they have so many other holes. It's not like they're anywhere close to contending. I think they're just going to roll with Dameon Pierce. I think he's in Dynasty. If somebody is trying to sell high, he might even be somebody you look to acquire.
I mean, my only caveat there, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to be looking to replace him. But I do think when you lack that draft capital, it comes with being susceptible to being replaced more so than someone who's drafted early, right? Like, not that the Texans are going to prioritize getting a higher draft capital running back or someone to fill this need. But if someone falls to them in the draft, because Dameon Pierce is the guy on their roster, I think they're going to be a lot more willing to take that value, right? So I'm with you. I think he's shown enough. Like, they're going to be more than comfortable rolling with him. But don't be surprised if there's an additional piece added. If this backfield isn't as clear next year for Dameon Pierce.
If there was see it every single year, and fantasy managers, it seems like we get duped by this a whole lot. But NFL coaches, these NFL teams, they don't look at running backs the same way that fantasy managers do. It's different. They're not as valued, and draft capital does matter a lot in terms of like the number of chances players are going to get, and like Simon said, just the amount that these coaches are willing to essentially stake. So you got to keep that in mind here, and I agree that we will see a situation change, like James Robinson, right? We saw that every single buddy on earth saw James Robinson's rookie season where he came and he showed up. No one expected him to as an undrafted free agent. And then we were all like, yes, James Robinson's this guy now in Jacksonville. No, they drafted Travis Etienne first round.
Yeah, but that's Urban Meyer. Can you really take anything Urban Meyer does for
it happens time and time again.
The one thing I think Pierce might have going for him with his draft stock is he is playing for the team that has the record of having Arian Foster, who was an undrafted free agent, and they held him forever in their lead running back spot. So while it's not the same situation, it is the same team. So there might be something there to that.
And he's good enough. Like, again, I'm not sitting here saying I expect him to, but he's good enough that if they want to roll with him, they can roll with him.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to add before we move on, there has been some rumors that Brandon Cooks is being looked at by some teams for trade. So he might be somebody you're looking to buy low, because if he winds up on another offense, he's got the talent. It's just he's on the Houston Texans and Davis Mills is starting.
They should trade Brandon Cooks and just give Dameon Pierce the ball 35 times a game.
Yes.
Just let him just keep it. They're going to lose anyways. Get that high draft pick, get Dameon Pierce some work out there and make fantasy managers very happy. I'm with that. Guys, let's move on to our last 4:00 game here. This one's still going on. 30 seconds left about in this one. New York Jets up 16-9 on the Denver Broncos.
Oh! Yes, the Jets, the much acclaimed 4-2 Jets are closing in on their 5th victory here. This game has been a slog. To say the least. The over-under was set at 37, and we're now at 25? We're now 25, so hit the under. The Jets were favored by 2 points in this game. So it looks like Bronco is probably not going to cover the spread. We'll have to wait and see the last 30 seconds.
I think the Jets might have just got the ball back.
Ooh.
I'm waiting.
The biggest news out of this game was Breece Hall. He got injured in the second quarter, I believe. Got tackled awkwardly on his leg and went out of this game, did not come back. Michael Carter ended up filling in for him. What's the level of concern from you guys with Breece Hall?
I mean, until I hear more 10, he left the game and didn't come back in, and he's a running back.
He had to be carted off. Now, the one thing I will say, I was watching the game when this happened. He was able to walk off the field. He walked to the blue tent, but when he went into the blue tent, he had to walk to the cart, and they carted him off. So I looked around a little bit online, and they said if it's his MCL, you could look anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, but if it's his ACL, it could be a season.
Oh God, that would
be a big bummer. That would be a big bummer. If that's the case, I imagine Michael Carter gets a massive boost.
Big bump.
And
massive boop. Massive boop on your notes.
It's
you hit on Michael Carter.
What a funny mess up. Michael Carter gets a massive boop on the nose for filling in for Breece Hall. Breece Hall still had a pretty good game. He did end up scoring a touchdown for fantasy manager. So if you had him, if you played him this week, you were at least saved. So you're at least saved for next week.
So good.
No.
Michael Carter came in, got 13 carries, 29 yards. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 carries, 29 yards, right? And ended up getting 9.4 fantasy points, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 45 yards. So Michael Carter, I mean, the usage is there. This offense just isn't moving much in this game. Just a very, it's a pretty low scoring game. So we're not seeing really a ton of fantasy relevant options here. Michael Carter, for you guys, if Breece Hall is out rest of the season, what does he become?
He's a every week start for me if Breece Hall is out the rest of the year. This is an incredibly tough Denver Broncos defense that they're going up against today. I'm not shocked that they're not moving the ball, and they don't have to move the ball a ton to beat them, right? I expect more high-scoring games from this Jets team, some of the ones that we've seen over the first 5 weeks of the season, and Michael Carter will be their primary ball carrier, and we saw flashes of what he can do last year whenever he is the primary ball carrier. I'm not putting him in top 12 running back territory, but he's going to sniff it each week. He's a high-end RB2 who, touchdown goes his way. He could end up as an RB1 on any given week. So I'm viewing him as an RB2 with RB1 upside rest of the year. You're playing him if you've got him on your team if Breece is out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if I would go. I don't know if I'm that bullish on him being RB1, the RB1 upside, but the RB2 definitely. I'm right there with you.
I think he does based on volume alone. Like I think Simon said it perfectly. That our RB2, and if he gets a touchdown or two, he could finish the week as a top 12 back.
I wouldn't be surprised if Breece Hall's season is over, and I don't want to put that in the universe, that they bring in somebody like Cam Akers to help out.
That would be interesting. Yeah, we would. I have to keep an eye on that for sure. On the Broncos side, on the Russian side, we had this whole concern with Melvin Gordon last week. This very sad post after he got benched essentially in the game against the Los Angeles Chargers, and they were clowning him, putting little clown emojis on him on the jumbotron.
It's not nice.
Rude.
This week, we saw Melvin Gordon get the most carries. He got 11 carries, 33 yards. Latavius Murray had 8 carries for 24 yards and a touchdown. So we saw Melvin Gordon get more carries, but he's leading down the seat. It's still split. It's close enough that really we're seeing a split between Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray. Any clarity you guys are getting from seeing this game? Anything you saw on the field that from Latavius Murray or Melvin Gordon that gives you indication over who's going to get the role going forward?
Honestly, as bad as this offense looks, I really don't want to start anybody in the backfield. I think Melvin Gordon is the guy that I would prefer just because I do assume he is going to get the most carries. But, 3 yards per carry, granted, Russell Wilson was out this week. But honestly, if I can, I'm avoiding any running backs on the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, it's Melvin Gordon if you have to start someone. This is disappointing. Based on what we saw last year from Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, it assumed Javonte may take a bigger workload, but Gordon is still a fully capable 3-down back. Like that's what it felt like, was that the Broncos had the luxury of having 2 top-tier 3-down backs on their roster. Apparently, they don't view Melvin Gordon that way because Javonte Williams went down, and all of a sudden it's a 1A, 1B with Latavius Murray instead. Their upside severely capped because of how they're splitting the workload. You're hoping the touchdown goes Melvin Gordon's way because he's not being hyper efficient on the ground either. So plug him in if you need a bye week fill in. But man, my optimism for Melvin Gordon has gone in the pooper the past 2 weeks.
The pooper. And the last players I think is probably worth mentioning here is Greg Dulcich. Got 9 targets, 6 receptions, 51 yards. Another good week, 11.1 fantasy points. Another good week from Greg Dulcich. How are you guys? Are you excited for Greg? Is he out of the glob? Could he make his way out of the tight end glob?
The second he caught that first touchdown pass, I removed him from the glob prematurely. I was like that. He got on the field.
Premature globulation.
Premature globulation for Mr. Greg Dulcich is exactly what I did. And
happens to all of us.
He just stayed living out there this week. This is exciting, right? The dude looks like the real deal. He looks like he's going to be an integral part of this passing game. And the fact that a backup quarterback came in here and immediately heavily targeted a rookie tight end, I think shows maybe how this team views Dulcich, right? How they're willing to use him. It was a safety valve for Brett Rippon. Rippon was ripping the ball over there to Dulcich.
Rippon was ripping.
Ooh,
I'm excited.
Ripping.
I'm excited for Dulcich. I'm probably going to send out some dynasty trade offers, see if people aren't too excited on him yet. Maybe they're trying to sell high.
I said Dulcich was the last one to mention, but I completely blanked on Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, receiving options on the Broncos side. Jerry Jeudy leading this receiving core here, 16.6 fantasy points, 11 targets, 7 receptions, 96 yards. Cortland Sutton, by contrast, 5.3 fantasy points, 9 targets, 3 receptions for 23 yards. No touchdowns for either of these guys. It's a good week for Jerry Jeudy managers. Any thoughts on these two guys?
No, not really. I think by the end of the season, I do still think that Russell Wilson is going to get healthy and get it going. It's been an absolute disaster. If somebody still, just is all out, maybe shoot some trade offers for Courtland Sutton, especially after this game. I do think the Denver Broncos offense, especially the passing game, will get it going by the end of the season.
I'm with you.
Man, I think if you started Jerry Jeudy this week, then I don't know, you probably were in a pretty rough spot based on what we've been seeing so far, but it worked out for you. I'm not letting this impact my confidence in starting him going forward, right? He's still kind of in that wide receiver 3 territory, but he's one of the guys down there that if the game script goes his way, he's got the talent to be a top 12 wide receiver, but it's still the Denver Broncos offense. And until I see it operating well, I just can't put at best the second target on this team. I know he was number 1 this week. He hasn't been most weeks as a startable fantasy option. It's just too bad of an offense, man.
Yeah.
As I say that, I'm with all of the bias in the world starting Greg Dulcich in every single league where I can.
Speaking of the Broncos, did you see that Subway pulled the Danger Witch after they released that?
Yeah.
They released that second, even worse, cringeworthy commercial. Subway said, "That's enough. We're getting rid of it." And they said it's not because of the trolling. Okay, Subway.
Did they pull the sandwich or did they just pull the ad?
No, they pulled the sandwich off the menu. It's gone.
They closed down the restaurant.
Yeah, they're actually out of business. There's no more Subways. So I hope you use your gift cards.
Add Russell Wilson's ego to the injury report for this week after they took his commercial off the air, eliminated his sandwich. Jay, speaking of injuries, I know we talked about quite a few of them already, but I think you got a full rundown on all of the major injuries.
Some of the big injuries from this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown left the game early, had 1 catch, and then he started to wobble a little bit, took a big hit. He did not return to the game. With the new concussion protocols, I would not be surprised to see him miss next week because it is a lot more difficult for players to pass the new concussion protocols within 1 week. So, which is good. You want players to be healthy. To keep an eye out for that. DK Metcalf, like we talked about, had a knee injury. He was carted off the field, did not return to the game. One thing that you don't like to see with these types of things, he was ruled out relatively quickly. So that's what's scary. Where I have not seen any updates on that. Ryan Tannehill left the game with a knee injury. Malik Willis got some run, but Tannehill did return to the game. Does not expect to be anything long-term. Same thing with Zeke Elliott. He has what they're calling they didn't say a bone bruise, but a knee bruise. But he did return to the game. Should be fine. And then Breece Hall, man, it looked like it could have been a concussion because he took a shot to the head, but they said it's a knee injury. He was ruled out pretty quickly as well. And like I said, I have a lot of Breece Hall this year, so he was somebody who I looked into with this injury, and from what I'm reading, best case scenario, we don't know. I don't know any of this. I'm not a doctor. Just this is me reading Twitter. 3 to 6 weeks would be kind of best case scenario, and it could be a season ender, unfortunately.
We'll keep you guys updated on that if anything new comes out, but I wouldn't expect more information tonight. Generally, that starts coming out over the next couple days as teams start practicing again throughout the week. Aber wants to know, was Mike Williams injured? Do you have any update on a Mike Williams injury?
Questionable to return. The ankle injury.
That game is
according to the Chargers team.
That game over now? No, there's still a little bit of time.
4 minutes left.
About 4 minutes left. Ooh, we got 4 minutes left now. And before that game's over, I want to talk a little bit about this Sunday night football matchup we have coming up. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins facing off on Monday night. This game's taking place in Miami. The Dolphins are 7.5-point favorites with a 45-point over-under. We're seeing Kenny Pickett starting his first primetime game, and we are seeing the return of Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa after some nasty hits earlier in the season. He missed some time. I'm excited for this game. I know this Pittsburgh Steelers offense has struggled, but we've got a rookie quarterback making his first primetime start, going against an offense or a team that has underperformed in recent weeks, been hit by some bad injuries. They're getting their quarterback back. This is one that I'm just looking forward to seeing how both of those players look out there. With Tua coming back, no one was benching Waddle or Tyreek Hill anyways, right? No matter who was throwing them the ball, those guys were starting every week. What I want to know is how this impacts the rest of this offense. Jay, does the return of Tua impact the running backs or the tight end, Mike Gesicki? Does it change how you're viewing the other assets besides Waddle and Hill in this offense?
Honestly, not really. I think it's a push when it comes to Raheem Mostert. You know, he's been used a little more with who is it, Teddy Bridgewater and the undrafted rookie that was under center. But this offense is going to perform a lot better. So while he may not get as many touches, he's going to get more looks in the red zone. Gesicki, he's somebody that, you know, he's been in hot as of late, but didn't really perform when Tua was under center. So I could see him taking a little bit of a step back from what he's done these past couple of weeks with Tua out.
That makes sense. Joey, are you in agreement with Jay on how Tua is going to impact this Dolphins offense?
Yeah, I mean, he could very well open it up a little bit more, but, you know, you mentioned Raheem Mostert, and I said earlier this morning, I'm just a little worried about him. When we had Brian Drake on, he mentioned when somebody gets their knee drained, usually as the game drags on, they start to tighten up a little bit. So I'm a little worried about Mostert long-term tonight.
That makes sense down there. We got Bobby in here. Bobby Felicio saying Jones is growing with the G-men. Defense is the key. Yeah, the Giants team as a whole has been looking pretty good over there. I know we got some happy Felicios with how well the Giants have been playing recently.
Absolutely.
Guys, in this game as well, I mentioned Kenny Pickett's making his first primetime start. Chase Claypool over the past couple of weeks has been looking pretty decent. Kenny Pickett starting tonight, though he's had more of the rapport with Mitch Trubisky. Though with the rumors that they're looking to trade Claypool and what they're expecting in return is something similar to the Christian McCaffrey package. Do you think we see them highlighting Claypool in this offense? Like I love a good narrative-based analysis, right? Because these teams are run by people who are making decisions based on emotion and based on business, right? Not just on these certain things. Like with him trying to trade Claypool, do you think Claypool gets a little boost in his targets tonight, or are you not taking that into account, John Luke?
I could see that. I could see that occurring. I could see the same thing for Mike Gesicki on the other side of the ball, because they also have some reports coming out this week that the Dolphins are ready to trade Mike Gesicki. So I could see them. You know what, Simon? I'm down to buy that narrative with you.
You're down to buy that narrative? I love taking a trip down narrative.
Down to get hurt again.
Once or twice a week, I got to roll down Narrative Street and try to do it. The Melvin Gordon squeaky mouse gets the cheese one didn't work out, but this is the narrative that plays out.
But this is it. That just means this one has a better chance of happening because the other one did.
Absolutely.
True. That's how math works.
When you're looking at this game, Dolphins favored by 7. Who are you taking? Are you taking the Dolphins to cover that, or do you think the Steelers take the points?
I think the Dolphins will win tonight.
You think the Dolphins are going to win tonight?
I was wondering what you were doing. Like you were cold, or
covering the logo
as he just covers it.
No, I like the Dolphins to win tonight. I am very excited for the game. The Dolphins defense hasn't been as great as people say it is. It's given up a lot of fantasy points. So I'm hoping Kenny Pickett really shows up in his first primetime game. You mentioned about Claypool. Are we going to see him showcase tonight? I think it kind of works on the other side too. Is they're going to send him out. They want to make sure he's not injured, and there's no little hiccup that happens tonight. So they might let him get a couple nice plays and then say, okay, have a nice time on the bench. We're going to shop you tomorrow.
We have battling narratives now. What am I going to do? I need another narrative now. We got to fight narrative with narrative. I don't have a comeback for that one.
I get a narrative for you. I don't think Mike Tomlin's the type of guy to do that. He's too good of a coach to try to put production on the field just so they can get rid of a guy. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I don't see it happening. So
it's kind of man. But Bill Belichick kind of plays that game, right? He's just playing the game. I wouldn't say that makes him a bad coach.
I'm with you, Jay. Now, I love this all narrative. Jay with the narrative, and Jay's like, yeah, well, what about this one? What about that's part of the game, and it's what makes a coach a coach. And if Tomlin's so good, then why isn't he playing the game that way? Jay? Riddle me that, Riddler. Mr. Joe Burr.
Joe Burr.
Burr. Before we move on from this game, let's take some quick predictions. Joey said he thinks the Dolphins are going to win. Jay, who do you think is going to win this game? Dolphins or Steelers?
Are we going with the spread or without the spread?
Without the spread. Who do you think is going to win? Straight up. Who's the winner of this game?
Dolphins.
Jay, what about you?
Dolphins.
Yeah, we got 4 Dolphins. So if we're wrong, we're going to get 4 animal noises next week.
Speaking of which,
I was going to say, Jay, before we move on to our 1 p.m. games right here, I was the sole loser of our animal noise bet last week, predicting Sunday Night Football incorrectly. So, boys, what animal noise will I be making on this fine Sunday for losing our bet?
I think since we're
Adjective plus
animal. I'll pick the animal. I'll go with a dolphin. One of you guys pick the
It's a
active
strength. That is a strength of mine.
An intellectual dolphin.
Okay, I can go condescending with
Do
this.
I get to add a quality?
Yeah, you want to?
Yes.
We'll do 2 qualities and an intellectual and what dolphin jail, or you can add another animal if you want. I can do them together.
Insecure.
An insecure and intellectual dolphin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Pretty good, right? Nailed it. Did you
I feel like I can break down each part of it. Like the whole thing was the dolphin, and then the first part was the intellectual part, and that little squeak at the end was the insecure part.
That looked more like a dolphin that was ready to mate, like presenting itself. It was like, like that's what I got.
You think an intellectually insecure dolphin isn't ready to mate, Jay? The things are not mutually exclusive.
I love that you made the sound to prove the point, though. You were like, like this.
I'm not going to second.
Simon's was much better.
DKB and use a Dr. Disrespect does a better dolphin. We'll have a dolphin off me and Dr. Disrespect. And Catherine Garofalo, and you're saying you nailed it. Thank you. At least someone supportive of my dolphin impersonations. I knew I could count on you. Guys, let's get into these 1 p.m. games.
Maria says loving kangaroo.
Maybe next week.
We'll have to save that one for next week.
That's a front runner for next week's animal. I like the 2 adjectives plus an animal where everyone gets to add something onto there a little bit. Just Killer, what's up? Welcome in. Glad to have you in here. You are just in time for us to talk a little bit about this Falcons and Bengals game that went down today. Bengals winning 35-17 in this one.
Yeah, so the Bengals won 35-17 with the second biggest passing day of Joe Burrow's career. Tyler Boyd and Joe Burrow opened the game up, connecting for a 60-yard touchdown, kind of set the pace for the game. Then it became the Joe and Jamar show with 2 connecting on 2 touchdowns. The Falcons did their best job of keeping pace, but it's tough to make a comeback when the Bengals offense were on the field for the final 8 minutes and 44 seconds of the game. They just closed this out. Bengals, looking at their numbers, Joe Burrow, 34 for 42, 481 yards passing, 3 touchdowns passing, 3 carries for 20 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He was incredible. His first half, he was 21 for 25, 345 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was remarkable.
Bad man.
Yeah. Joe Mixon, 17 carries for 58 yards and a touchdown. 3 receptions for 33 yards. So he was involved in the passing game again. I think everyone was involved in the passing games. I caught a pass from Joe Burrow too.
I was involved as well.
Yeah. Jamar Chase, 8 receptions for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was incredible today as well. T. Higgins wasn't bad. He just didn't have a touchdown. 5 receptions for 93 yards. So the work was there for him. Yeah.
I think he had a play where he stretched across. I just don't think they gave it to him.
I don't think I got to see that, but I'm going to take your word for it because I believe you. But he was involved 2nd week in a row. So that's good to see for T. Higgins. But the receiver I want to talk about is Tyler Boyd. 8 receptions. He led the team with 155 yards and a touchdown. So Jamar Chase and T. Higgins must starts week in and week out. This is Boyd's best game of the season by far. He does have one other 100-yard receiving game this season. Is Tyler Boyd a startable option, or is he merely a flex at best? Simon, what do you think?
So I was trying to pull up so far. I was looking at this earlier, how the Falcons are against slot wide receivers as a whole on the year. And they are a bottom 10 team. They're 8th worst against the slot through 6 weeks of the season. So going into this week, in this Bengals coaching staff, say what you will about Taylor, he exploits matchups in the opposing defenses. If he sees a weakness in an opposing defense, he exploits it. There was obviously something he saw with how the Falcons were defending against that specific type of receiver, and he executed on it. Boyd's going to have 155 yards, and you'll see Tyler Boyd games like this. Like this is, go back and look at last year. When they like the matchup for Tyler Boyd, they feed him the ball. So this is part of having Tyler Boyd on your fantasy teams. It's a little bit more predictable, I think, than some of the blow-ups. Check out how teams are against slot wide receivers going in. And if it's a bottom 10 matchup, I think Tyler Boyd's not a must start, but he's a good start any given week whenever they're going against a bottom 10 slot matchup. And we have enough data now to make that decision, right? Like
you've
we're
been
through
saying that
7
since
weeks.
last year. That's the one thing. Anytime I hear Tyler Boyd, I wonder, how the defense is against the slot. So I give you credit on that, Simon.
We're getting to the point in the season where we have enough data to make those calls, right? Like defense has changed so much, but we finally have enough. We're like being bottom 10 means something. And just a fluky game isn't going to set that off entirely unless it's a Tua Tagovailoa 500-yard passing game or something like that. That might throw off your stats a little bit still at this point.
Yeah. Looking at the Falcons side of the ball, Marcus Mariota, a pretty disappointing game. 8 for 13, 124 yards and a touchdown. He did have 6 carries for 31 yards. I feel like his rushing work has just kind of saved him this year. I think Mariota is nothing more than just a bye-week replacement if the matchup's good at this point. Tyler Algier continues to lead this backfield in the absence of Cordell Patterson. Today, he had 16 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown. Caleb Huntley, 6 carries for 22 yards. So the splits for Algier and Huntley since Cordell Patterson has been out. Algier 54 carries for 230 yards and a touchdown, and Huntley 30 carries for 171 yards and a touchdown. So it does look like it's Algier's job until Cordell Patterson comes back. Not going much on in the passing game, which brings me to Drake London, which is kind of what I want to talk about. Drake London, 1 reception for 9 yards. And after starting the season with either 75 yards receiving or a touchdown in each game, he hasn't scored a touchdown or had over 40 receiving yards in the last 4 weeks. JL, how concerned are you with Drake London?
I mean, I'm concerned about this offense is the bigger issue here. 13 attempts, 13 passing attempts the whole game. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Calvin Johnson. You're not going to turn that into a lot of fantasy points. There's just not enough opportunity. So I'm worried that the Atlanta Falcons offense can't get moving. If they can't get the ball to these guys, these weapons that they have, then it's bad news.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, they're not passing the ball. The past 2 games, 13 attempts this past game, 14 attempts last week. Before that, 25. And the 2 big games for Drake London, 33 and 26. So you would think with this game script being down so big so early, this would be the type of game that they would throw the ball a ton. And if they're still going to run the ball when they're down by this many points, until Arthur Smith is gone, I don't know what to do with Drake London.
Now, to hit on something Joey said a little bit earlier as well, the Bengals ate clock like a coach's wet dream in this game, right? Like to chew up 8 minutes at the end of the game, for them to only throw the ball 13 times, I feel like you would expect more than 29 rushing attempts as well. This was a very low play volume game for the Falcons, just beautifully executed by the Bengals. So, I mean, not that they would have thrown the ball more than 13 times, but this offense was on the field less than they have been any other week this season. It feels
they might have thrown it 17 times.
They might have thrown it 17 times, yeah. And then it's a different story. Then we're talking something else.
That 8-minute and 44-yard, just like I don't know if you can call it a drive. They were going for it on 4th down almost every time. It was absurd to watch. The Bengals, like you said, they just masterfully played this game and from every aspect of it.
Guys, before we move on to our next game, I saw Just Killer in here. This question made me laugh a little bit. Said, who are your teams? 3 are clear, not shown the last one. But the best part is the 3 clear ones are also wrong. They're not wearing their own team's jersey. So they just threw you off entirely. I'm a Browns fan, I guess.
Could you say that a little louder, Simon? I couldn't hear you.
The Cleveland Browns. JL, Ravens right there. Joey, who do you support?
I am a Buccaneers fan, but my wife's family, they're all Steelers fans. So I'm wearing this for them tonight for the game. Because when you marry into a Steelers family, you have no choice but to support them if you have another team. So yeah, but I'm a Bucs fan.
What about
I'm
you, Jay?
a New York Football Giants fan. I whenever I win a fantasy championship in my home league and somebody helps me do that, I feel like I'm obligated to support them by buying their merch. So Joe Burrow helped me win a championship last year, so I bought a shirt.
How much money does Joe Burrow get from that t-shirt purchase?
Probably nothing, but I think he's doing A-okay. You can see by the way he dresses. He's good.
Yo, that drip. I love when they just show the dudes who like show up to every game in something sexy. Like where they're like, you know what, it's Sunday. I'm showing up. I'm putting on a a white tiger print suit. I'm wearing a neon green pantsuit is what I'm wearing today.
I'll make you guys this promise. If Joe Burrow leads me to back-to-back home league championships, I will show up to my draft and I'll wear it to Canton too in a white tiger suit. Just like
I was looking for a reason not to talk to you in Canton, so now I have it. So
Now I have it.
just kidding, Jay. I love you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Also, Geek Hippie and you're saying Bear Down Bears. We got some Bears fans in the chat, and just goes, damn, you did completely throw me off. Yeah.
Whoa, we're tricky.
Yeah. I'm wearing, and I have a Lamar Jackson jersey hanging in the background. So I'm wearing
that's
a Bengals
not a
shirt.
Bengals jersey. That might be tricky also. So that's a Clemson jersey.
Yeah. And to really throw you off, I'm wearing a Larry Bird jersey underneath this. So we're all over the place.
And Chris in here says Chris has a 20-point lead going into tonight, but their opponent has Waddle, Freiermuth, and Tyquan Thornton. Jay, if you're giving our friend Chris here a percent chance of winning, he's up 20. It's a decent lead, but going against Waddle, Freiermuth, and Thornton, what do you think is going to happen tonight?
If this is PPR, I tend to assume PPR these days. It's not great, Bob. I'm going to give you about a 25% chance to win.
Yeah, it's looking rough, Chris, but crazier things have happened. And we saw today lots of players disappoint. I apologize, Mark Andrews let you down, but you got to just keep on starting them week in, week out.
We really missed the chance to say his lineup is broken. There's no fixing it. But, okay.
Guys, we got our next game here. Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys won this one 24-6 in this game.
Yeah, and even though that looks like a pretty big deficit, the game was a lot closer than that. Going into the fourth quarter, it was 10-6. A couple of Lions turnovers turned into easy scores for the Cowboys. Speaking of turnovers, Jared Goff, 4 of them today. 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. He lost Amon-Ra St. Brown on his first catch of the game. There was no DeAndre Swift. Most targeted wide receiver on this team was Khalif Raymond. So while Jared Goff, started off super hot this season and then has really tailed off, I don't think you can take much away from his performance without having Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, who really hasn't done much this season outside of that big one game, was a week 4, I believe. Yeah. He started the season hot, 11 touchdowns through 4 games. And at one point, the Lions were the top offense in the entire NFL. But in the last 2 games, Jared Goff has had 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 4 fumbles lost. So
bad boy.
With a solid matchup going into Miami next week. Now, let's say Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown are both back. And like Joey said earlier in the game, Miami is giving up a fairly significant amount of fantasy points to opposing teams. Are you starting Jared Goff in any format, 1 QB or Superflex?
Who's on bye next week? And are any of those guys my quarterback? And is Daniel Jones on the waiver wire? Those are my 3 questions to answer your question, Jay.
Okay. I don't know. And I don't know.
I guess to give you a more applicable answer that could be applied elsewhere, he's the back end of that streaming tier of quarterback for me. I don't want to plug him in. He shouldn't be rostered. We're holding on to him unless it's a 2 quarterback league. But if you need someone to plug in for 1 week, it's a matchup that I'm not scared of, and they're going to be playing from behind. So you can, but there are other guys on the waiver wire probably that I'm preferring. A Trevor Lawrence, a Daniel Jones, maybe even a Marcus Mariota. He's been running the ball, not so much this week, but he's been running the ball pretty well.
Yeah, if we get Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift back next week, I actually really like Jared Goff. I mean, this Miami Dolphins defense has just had shootout after shootout this season. So I don't mind playing Jared Goff next week if my player's on bye or whatnot. Or if you drafted a lot of Russell Wilson like I did and you have to find someone.
Me too. I'm right there with you. So.
Yeah, Jay was tooting that Russell Wilson.
I was all in. I had him top 5 this season.
You did. I forgot about that.
I was wrong.
It's another show
happens.
to just what happened? What
in the world?
I can't wait for the 30-30 on what happened to Russell Wilson. It's going to be really fascinating to find out.
On the Lions rushing game, Jamal Williams, 15 carries, 79 yards. He did have a costly fumble inside the Dallas 1 that set up a pretty tough touchdown that sealed the deal for the Cowboys just about. Swift is expected back next week. I think he goes back to being, he's been on that high-end RB2 value more of a flex play. Definitely a backup running back that needs to be rostered everywhere because, as we've seen, Swift hasn't been able to stay healthy. And this game aside, Jamal Williams has put up some pretty good fantasy weeks, even with Swift in. But the guy that I wanted to talk about next is TJ Hawkinson. Out of a monster performance in week 4, he has been a major disappointment. Week 4, he had 35.9 fantasy points in PPR formats. The 5 other games combined, he has 27.1 points, averaging 5.4 points per game. Are you guys benching TJ Hawkinson until he turns it around?
Glob. TJ Hawkinson's in the glob. He's not startable every single week. You can start him. You can plug him in, but
this good matchup against Miami. Are you starting him?
Yeah, plug TJ Hawkinson in next week. Yeah. I think you can start him, but he's not an every week start in my mind. He's a glob tight end.
I think
TJ Hawkinson.
I think that might be the nature of the tight end position right now. It just is like, all right, if you don't have Andrews, and I know he's disappointing today, but you're going to start Mark Andrews as soon as he's back on the field again. Yeah. And you don't have Travis Kelce, like, all right, what matchups are good this week, and who do I have? I mean, that's kind of where you're at, where you're going to be streaming the position.
Hey, Simon, I have a question specifically for you.
Are you going to ask me Taysom Hill or TJ? I think it was going to be a hot question. Yeah, absolutely.
TJ, yeah, I'm on the other side of this. I don't think TJ Hawkinson is doing too poorly. I mean, he's the tight end 6 in PPR formats. His usage is decent. Though. Not really. I mean, well, yeah, there's a massive chunk from the 40-point game last week, but he's still like scoring 7 points, 5.6 points, 10.8 points, which for a tight end is not bad. That's not really that bad. He is probably closer to the glob, but the targets are there, and other tight ends are not getting targeted like he is. And so for me, I would rather have the tight end who hasn't turned it into production, but is getting the opportunity.
I guess like when I look at it, like I think would I rather have Evan Ingram or TJ Hawkinson, David Njoku or TJ Hawkinson. And I think I would prefer both of those guys. But then whenever I look at like a Robert Tonyan or a Conklin, give me TJ Hawkinson over Dulcich. Like honestly, give me TJ Hawkinson over all of those guys, right? Like I've loved what I've seen from Dulcich so far, but like, so TJ Hawkinson is below those guys that are starting to separate themselves in my eyes, but ahead of the whole glob. But he lives in that in-between territory. Like there are people that aren't Mark Andrews and aren't Travis Kelce that I have ahead of him that have separated themselves so far. And Jay, you're right. It's the targets. It's the guys that are getting consistently targeted that are ahead of them. But he is ahead of those guys that aren't getting consistently targeted. He's not at the top of the targeted guys.
Yeah, looking at his I pulled up his opportunity stats from Player Profiler. Now, this probably does not include this week. Just keep that in mind. But number 7 amongst tight ends on targets. Number 8 target share with 19%. He's got a 23.1% red zone target share. I mean, he's getting red zone targets. His snap share is 84.2%, which is number 8 amongst all tight ends. His route participation, which is routes run per team pass play, meaning how many times did the team pass? Was he out there running a route? He's number 7. Number 7 amongst all tight ends is 82.3% route participation. The opportunity's there. We just need to see him turn it into something.
Let's flip this then. Are you looking to trade for him?
I'd be down to trade for Hawkinson. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's not a bad opportunity. It just depends what you have to spend. I think he's at the top of the glob. He's you love that opportunity. You don't love to see the 5 points per game outside of that one big game.
No, and Just Killer asking, is it Hawkinson over Kelce? Absolutely not.
No.
We Kelce lovers over here. And
Just Killer and Just Jokes. Look at this.
Even if you hate Kelce, you still got Kelce ahead of Hawkinson right there.
Yeah.
On the Cowboys side of the ball, Dak Prescott returned from injury. He had a decent game. Nothing to write home about. 205 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. But what you did see from this Dallas Cowboys offense is a lot of rushing the ball. 32 attempts, 27 of which went to Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. Pollard outperformed Zeke on a yards per carry basis, 83 yards on 12 carries, 6.9 yards per carry. Nice. Zeke had 2 touchdowns. They were both real close, nothing spectacular. 57 yards, 15 carries at 3.8 yards per carry. While Zeke did get the touchdowns, he's not really been that impressive this season. 4.2 yards per carry, and pretty much all the passing game work has been going to Tony Pollard. You've seen in the past when Zeke have had these big years, he's also been involved in the passing game. Would you guys use this 2-touchdown game as an opportunity to sell high on Zeke, or are you ride until the wheels fall off?
I'm going to ride for a few more weeks because just with this Dallas, the matchups they have coming up, like I want to keep Zeke for a little while longer and then trade him. And I said that earlier this week on the Thursday night show. Like I really want Zeke the next few weeks. And then I'm going to, believe me, then I'm going to trade him. But just for the next little run, I really want Zeke.
I'm fine continuing to roll with Zeke. This isn't the first time we've seen Pollard outproduce him on the ground from an efficiency standpoint, right? Like that was the story last year. Pollard was outproducing Zeke on the ground. It's what he does. Like I do feel like right now the Cowboys know that. Whenever we watch the game, we know that's probably what can happen. Zeke is still their starting running back. Zeke's still probably going to get more goal line carries, and Zeke's going to be productive. So I'm plugging Zeke. And that being said, start Pollard every week too.
Yeah.
Like plug Pollard in there. This isn't an anti-Pollard take. It's just feel good with what you've got in Zeke. Don't immediately just be like, 2 touchdowns, I got to sell. There's a reason he got 2 touchdowns. He's the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys right now.
JL, anything you'd like to add?
No, I agree. I agree completely with Simon, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's rare. Really not much else to say about the Dallas pass catchers when they're not throwing the ball that much. Not going to be a ton of production. CeeDee Lamb, 4 catches, 70 yards. Gallup dropped a big fat goose egg on us. Noah Brown led the team with 7 targets, but outside of the game against the Giants, he hasn't done much since then. Not really much to take away from them for this game.
Can I say something about Noah Brown?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I was looking for today, to see if he was going to be involved, to see if he was just a Cooper Rush guy. And 7 targets with Dak Prescott, that tells me that Noah Brown's going to be involved in this offense.
Did you guys see that flip he did?
I did not.
No, I missed the flip.
He got flipped through the air, and it was crazy because like as he was getting flipped, it was like his head just got enough clearance to kind of whip around, and he landed on his back. But it was a pretty wild play. They showed the replay like 1,000 times. It's crazy.
I don't know how I missed it. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I love a good flip. We love a flip whenever it happens.
It wasn't an intentional flip. He was getting a hit flip.
Oh,
that's the only way I'm flipping now. I'm not flipping anything intentionally. Me and Noah Brown. It's got to be. If I'm upside down, something has gone very wrong at this point in my life. Like I should not be upside down at any point. We're going to move on to our next game. And speaking of upside down, I think the whole football world is upside down because the New York Giants are sitting at 6-1. Through 7 games, have already beaten my projection for their total of wins on the year by 3 games. Through only 7 games. So I was really wrong. They could
honestly
comically wrong.
Yeah, like they've probably beat the total for this year and next year that I had for them, if I'm being honest. I had no expectations for the Giants.
They barely won this game.
I was going to say, it looked like they might not win this game for a little bit there. And at the very end, I don't know if you guys watched the last play of this game. Trevor Lawrence hits Christian Kirk on the 1-yard line. All he has to do is fall into the end zone to tie the game, kick an extra point to win it. And the Giants defense was right there to hold them up at the 1. Game over. Giants win in exciting fashion. Keep this
crazy.
Keep this winning streak alive at least for one more week.
No idea what's going on, but I love it.
Where I want to start is on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
They picked him up and just kept him from scoring. It was just like he got the closest he could get to scoring without actually scoring.
I was sitting there. It was one of the plays. Like, I know my girlfriend doesn't love football and doesn't really care about most of what happens, but I'd say 1 or 2 plays a week. I'm like, you got to come watch this. Like it's one of those ones where like I just have to share this with somebody in my house, and my dog doesn't respond. And that was the play this week where like that happened. I was like, you have to come watch this. Like come look how close they were to just winning this game right there at the end. But the Giants got it. Giants got it done. And let's start on that side of the ball. Daniel Jones going 19 for 30 for 202 yards and a touchdown, but adding 107 yards and a touchdown on the ground. I've been seeing some lively debates about the future of this New York Giants quarterback position. Is Daniel Jones the guy? Is Brian Daboll just working his magic and it's the defense and Saquon carrying this team? Jay, you're our G-man. You're our Giants fan. How do you feel about Daniel Jones going forward? Do you think he's showing enough this year that they're going to have confidence to sign him to a long-term deal? Or are they still going to look to upgrade in the first round of next year's draft?
I'll be honest, going into the season, I was out. I was completely out. I was like, you know what? Daniel Jones just isn't the guy. I've always, since they've drafted him, Daniel Jones has been that guy that I've never felt like he can take the team on his back and win a game. He was just the guy, good defense, good running. And you know what? Look what he did today on the ground, 107 rushing yards plus the rushing touchdown. He stopped with the turnovers. I think if he continues to play like this the rest of the season, I could see him being the starter next year. And you guys know well enough that I was not expecting Daniel Jones to be there. I wanted a tank for Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or somebody. But man, whatever the Giants' record is, if he continues to play well, and the big thing with him is he's not turning the ball over. Dable is putting him in the position to make smart plays and not play risky football. I mean, he's doing it with Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, David Sills the fifth. I mean, those are the guys that are out there right now. He's got no wide receivers. So I'm cautiously optimistic for the future of Daniel Jones.
Some disrespect to Wan'Dale Robinson saying he's got no wide receivers, but that's where I wanted to move next. Rookie wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson made his debut last week, played on only 14 offensive snaps in week 6. This week played a much larger role and 8 targets, 6 receptions, 50 yards. Darius Slayton came down with a touchdown, but Wan'Dale Robinson was the most targeted player in this offense. Joey, going forward, how are you viewing Wan'Dale Robinson? Is he a guy that you're comfortable starting each and every week?
Congratulations if you used your waiver wire fab on Wan'Dale Robinson this week because you're rewarded. I mean, 6 for 50, that's 11 fantasy points in a PPR league. You will take that every week for a wide receiver 3. And I think that's right where Wan'Dale Robinson's at. He's a wide receiver 3 you can start. If you're in a pickle on bye weeks, throw him in at a wide receiver 2 or, a flex every week. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he's going to be the most targeted receiver in this offense going forth this season. I'm happy starting him.
Yeah, so am I. I think you can plug him in. He's going, to me, it looks like he's going to be the wide receiver 1 for this New York Giants team. And with most teams, the wide receiver 1 is someone that you want to start in fantasy.
We've been saying it on this show for a couple weeks now to pick him up, throw him at the end of your bench because he could have this opportunity, and it looks like he's making the most of it.
On the other side of the ball, Trevor Lawrence going 22 for 43, 310 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. A pretty just meh game if you started him. He added a touchdown on the ground, though, so from a fantasy perspective, you were fine with it, right? Nothing to write home about, nothing you're excited about, but he did all right for you. The receivers, Evan Ingram. We talked about the glob a little bit earlier. Evan Ingram got 7 targets this week, and that makes the last 3 weeks of targets 10 in week 5, 6 in week 6, 7 in week 7. JL, you were saying TJ Hawkinson, maybe a little bit separated from the glob. Rest of season, do you want Hawk or do you want Ingram?
That is a good question.
I thought so. I thought it was.
That's a good question.
It's a good line, right?
I think I'd rather have Hawk.
You'd rather have Hawk. What about you, Jay? I see you pursing your lips, maybe thinking about this one. Are you going Evan Ingram or are you going TJ Hawkinson?
I think I'm going to go Evan Ingram. I like the consistent target share, and he's doing this. He's getting double-digit points with no touchdowns. There's really, Christian Kirk is the number 1, but is he really a number 1? We've got Travis Etienne getting some work. I've seen, and even the games earlier in the year where didn't necessarily go out that great. You could see that connection was starting to build with Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram, and he's not been dropping the ball like he did on the Giants. So I think it's very close. It's probably I'd rather have both of these guys and play matchups. But if I'm having to pick one for the rest of the season, I think I'm going Evan Ingram.
I think I'm right there as well. I think it's Evan Ingram. Joey, are you with JL or are you with Jay and I here?
I would probably I'm actually with JL on this. I'd rather have a Hawkinson on my team, but I don't think anyone should be surprised by what they're seeing out of Evan Ingram. It's a Doug Peterson offense. And we were saying this all off season. He likes to target his tight ends. That's exactly what he's doing. Evan Ingram's had work all season. I think the Lions are going to trail a lot more. Their offense is absolutely dreadful. Jacksonville at least has somewhat of a defense. Yeah, I meant defense. Sorry about that. So yeah, I mean, I like Evan Ingram, but I would probably still rather have Hawkinson.
That's a little more opportunity for Evan Ingram. I'm sorry, for TJ Hawkinson over Evan Ingram, right? There's less competition in that Lions offense.
Man, That's wild to say that Evan Ingram has more competition for targets in this Jacksonville offense. If you look at the depth chart, right? Like I get it. Christian Kirk's getting it, but Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, like these guys that maybe you didn't expect to command 8 to 10 targets are occasionally commanding 8 to 10 targets.
Marvin Jones always does that.
You're right.
Zay Jones, for sure not. No way you'd expect that.
No, one player, JL, that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sure you're quite excited about this finally happening. Maybe your most rostered player this year is Mr. Travis Etienne, and it looks like the switch is complete. Travis Etienne seems to have taken full control of this backfield. James Robinson, I don't know if there was an injury that they didn't disclose. He wasn't on the injury report, but he didn't get a single carry in this game. He wasn't on the field until like the end of the second quarter, I feel like, where he came out on a Trevor Lawrence run. But Travis Etienne, 14 carries, 114 yards, a touchdown on the ground, then added 1 reception for 5 yards off of 5 targets. John Luke, is it done? Is James Robinson over? Is this now the Travis Etienne backfield?
I have one thing to tell everybody.
Okay.
I told you. Travis Etienne. Let's go.
He looks good. He looks good.
He looked
Joey,
fantastic today, apart from the fumble into the end zone.
And then, but even then, it came back in the second half, and it was still the Travis Etienne show, right? They didn't switch up game plans. They didn't go to somebody else. Joey, how are you viewing Travis Etienne rest of the season? Are you with JL? Is he a top 12 running back, top 24? How are you viewing this guy?
He's not 12, but I share in JL's excitement because I have been trying to put this narrative out for 2 weeks now on this show that James Robinson needs to go away. Just go away. And I was even tweeting it today. Like,
it's never very nice.
James Robinson, never again. I don't want him on the field. And this is why. Travis Etienne is better in every aspect of playing the game this year. Everything we've seen the last 4 weeks is Travis Etienne is superior to James Robinson. Showed it again today. Sure, there was a fumble in the end zone. But like Simon said, the ball went back to Etienne again in the second half. I love Etienne rest of the season. He's a solid running back 2 for me rest of the way.
Rock solid is the correct terminology.
What did I say?
The fumble into the end zone also wasn't a terrible one. It did get popped out because he got hit hard. It wasn't like it's just a bumble fumble, you know?
Yeah.
Fumble.
Those bumble fumbles are the ones that
he should have protected it. Don't get me wrong, but yeah.
Sometimes you fumble it, and those ones hurt a little bit more. This was not a bumble fumble. Let's move on to our next game. We have the Bucks visiting the Panthers in this one. The Bucks, surprisingly, not getting it done in this game. The Panthers, without Matt Rule, without Christian McCaffrey, without Baker Mayfield, winning 21-3
against all odds. Specifically, the betting odds, 13-point spread. 13-point spread for the Tampa Bay.
That's a good one, JL. Damn it.
Oh, boy. Did Carolina cover this game? And still, we hit the under. So the under was at 39. Did not reach that because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers poo-pooed. They poo-pooed all over the place.
Yeah, unfortunately, my wife picked up and started PJ Walker against me in our league.
Oh, boy. Yeah. The old Peach. She started Peach?
She started Peach, yep.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
not great, Bob.
PJ Walker starting for the Carolina Panthers after firing Matt Rule and Baker Mayfield sitting out. Christian McCaffrey getting traded. PJ Walker comes in. Was Tom Brady sleeping? Yeah, as you get older, you take a few more naps. A few more naps here and there. Tom Brady, 11.7 fantasy points in this game. He threw 49 times, 32 completions, 290 yards, not a single touchdown. Not a single touchdown. PJ Walker threw 22 times, 16 completions for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns in a fantastic game. His QB rating 126.5. He was great. He looked great in this game. On the rushing side, we had DJ Moore. I'm sorry, DJ Moore had a rush. That was crazy. Did not see that. On the rushing side, with Christian McCaffrey gone, Deonta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard were running this backfield. Deonta Foreman getting the bulk of the carries here, 15 for 118 yards and no touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard had 9 attempts for 63 yards and a touchdown. They both broke off some big runs in this game. They looked very good. I don't know where this Panthers team was hiding. What happened here, guys?
they were hiding under Matt Rule's belly, and he left, and now they've escaped, and they are just stunting all over the place. No, I think this maybe was a team that was demotivated. I feel like you see this sometimes. You know what I mean? When a coach loses the locker room, it affects the performance on a field, and it could have just been like a sigh of relief. You know what I mean? Coach is gone. Expectations for this season also probably gone. This was probably just hey, we're playing a division rival who hasn't looked good recently. The coach that has been maybe weighing us down in the players' eyes is gone. Like, let's just go out there and have some fun. And they did put together a full game.
Yeah. So between Chuba Hubbard and Deonta Foreman, are these two guys that, if they're not already picked up off the waiver, that you're heavily targeting this week, Joey?
So I Thursday night, I was able to get out there as the announcement was made. And I told everyone, if you need to pick up one of these guys, pick up Deonta Foreman, not Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard had a much better game than I expected. I still want Deonta Foreman in this offense. And I actually went to Twitter and I put out a poll to see who do people want after watching this one game. And 87%, last time I checked it, was still Deonta Foreman. He looked better today. Now in the first half, Chuba Hubbard, he did look a little bit better, but when it was there to close the game out, it was Deonta Foreman, and he was involved in the passing game, had the better performance in the passing game as well. I think he's a flex at best. That being said, because I think this performance against Tampa Bay is going to be an anomaly. Because I don't think this Panthers team is that great, and like Simon said, the expectations are not there.
Not going to pan out. I'm with you, Joey. Like, Deonta Foreman's startable, but I'm not rushing to start him. Yeah. He should be rostered in every single league. If he's on your waiver wire, I'm probably trying to pick him up, and he can be plugged in, but a split backfield on an offense that, like, this is their ceiling, right? Like, what we just saw this week is the ceiling for these guys, I feel like. As much fun as they had against the Buccaneers this week, I don't imagine as many fun games for the Panthers down the stretch. Nope. They're going to lose a lot more than they're going to win.
Absolutely. On the receiving side of this, we also had some surprises. DJ Moore, welcome back. We missed you. Glad to see you still kicking. Still
all he needed was a little peach in his life.
All he needed was a little bit of peach. 19.6 fantasy points, 10 targets, 7 receptions, 69 yards, a touchdown. Oh, nice, DJ Moore. That is solid. That is what we want to see. You know who else got some fantasy points in this game was Terrace Marshall Jr. 5.1 fantasy points, 3 targets, 2 receptions for 31 yards. Oh, a little
technically he did get points. I mean, you are correct.
I will say this is the Terrace Marshall breakout. He's made it. He has ascended to his ceiling in the NFL, and it is 5.1 PPR fantasy points.
Who had more fantasy points this week?
Don't you dare.
Was it Terrace Marshall Jr. or Russell Wilson?
I thought you were going another route. It was Terrace Marshall Jr.
That is damn correct. Great job.
I thought you were going to take the Laviska Shenault shot at me, but
Laviska Shenault got 1.8 fantasy points, proving that you can get less than 5.1 fantasy points in a game. So there you go.
Jill, I've been watching Darnell Mooney this season. I already know it's possible to score below 5.1 fantasy points.
I'm aware. Tommy Tremble. That. Can we talk about the
Tommy Tremble is also here. Mr. Tommy Trembles. He had 1 target, 1 reception, 29 yards, and a touchdown. Joey, what would you like to say about old Mr. Trembles?
I have an affection for Tommy Tremble, just because, like we say, when our stomach hurts, we have the tummy trembles. And just anytime I see him perform on the field in any positive form whatsoever, I get excited. So I'm happy to see he got a touchdown today. I'm not starting him. I'm not having him on my team, but it's nice to see him get a touchdown.
It's nice to see his name come up. Yeah. Moving on to the Buck side of this ball, the Buck side.
Buck side of this ball.
The Buck side of this ball. Leonard Fournette on the rushing side, 8 carries, 19 yards, or a whopping 4.6 points. So Leonard Fournette, if you started him, it probably would have been better to start old Terrace Marshall down there.
You're a menace.
We all make mistakes. Don't worry. There's always next week. Rashad White, 4.2 fantasy points, 6 carries for 24 yards. Guys, what's going on with this Buccaneers backfield? Weren't able to get it going today. Are you at all concerned, or is this just a fluky game?
They lost big to the Carolina Panthers. I'm not reading too much into this. Know what I mean? Like they just got blown out by the Panthers. Like I'm surprised they didn't just like start giving Keyshawn Vaughn 100 carries in this game. I don't even know if he's still on that team. Like they just phoned it in. I'm not Rachaad White. He should be rostered. He's an exciting young player. Maybe he gets more involved, but this is still the Leonard Fournette show. Like I'm not too concerned for old Lenny.
I'm with you. Mike Evans led the receiving side of this ball. 15 targets, 9 receptions, 96 yards, 18.6 fantasy points. Mike Evans doing what he does. Chris Godwin wasn't bad either.
Should have had a big day, Mike Evans. He dropped a long touchdown. Yeah. Sure thing.
Ripped
that's why there's a big crack in my screen right here.
Because you just punched it.
Yeah.
Chris Godwin also had a pretty good game. 13 targets, 7 receptions, 11.5 fantasy points this week. Not much to talk about there. That's basically what you expect. Even in a bad game, these two guys are performing fantasy-wise for you, which is why you drafted them where you drafted them.
Did you guys see the video of after the game? The Bucs players were running off the field, and the referees ran up to Mike Evans to get his autograph. There were two of the referees from that game getting a Mike Evans autograph after the game, like in the tunnel as they're walking off. And the comments were split. Like half the comments were like, NFL officiating, look into this. And the other half were like, guys, like, wouldn't it be concerning if they didn't want his autograph? Like, that's a future Hall of Famer. And I bet they got kids at home and like they saw their opportunity.
That's not the right time. That's not the right time to do it. Like in that professional setting, when you affect the game, like I get what you're saying. Trust me, I would if I was there, I would try to get it for my kids. But man, you can't do that.
I get the optics.
They did it afterwards,
right?
They did it after the game in the tunnel. Yeah, after the game.
It's not affecting the game. Then I'm fine with it. Whatever. They're just humans. It's not like impacting the game at all.
I just thought it was funny to see them kind of humanized, right?
Like, okay, I'm not going to call any bad calls against Mike Evans because I want to get an autograph after the game.
Yeah, I think it's less likely that referees think that way because this is their career, and they're also referees are highly graded. Like every game, they are graded by their job, but that affects their livelihood. So like, they're not going to make a play. I don't think it's unlikely they'd make a call like that because they like a player and then get worse scores, right?
Like Simon said, it's more about the optics. I don't think they actually do that, but that's just the rabbit hole that people are going to go down.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that Evans is going to make the Hall of Fame. Like, I hope that happens. I really do. I would love to see his bust in Canton.
Oh, I'm the world's biggest Mike Evans fan. I would love that too, Joey. Jay, and I bet the more likely scenario is not that they adjust the like calls that they're making on the field. They adjust which player they asked for an autograph at the end of the game. You know what I mean? Like, I had some rough calls on Godwin. I'm going to approach Evans today. Like,
I didn't call that PI. I can't go up to Godwin today. Sorry, guys.
No, absolutely. Guys, let's hit one more game in here. The next game that we're going to be talking about, we've got this Browns at Ravens game. The Ravens coming back with the victory in this one, winning 23-20.
Yeah, and there was a little concern that the Ravens were going to blow a double-digit lead for the fourth time this season, but they did not. Thanks to the Browns being the Browns with some costly penalties. Towards the end of the game, Cleveland had the ball on its own 16 with 3:12 to play. They drove down the field and then had a couple penalties, wound up getting a field goal blocked to seal the game. Honestly, on the Brown side of the ball, there's not much to talk about. Jacoby Brissett, 250-something yards, no touchdowns. Njoku has been a very nice surprise this year. You know, it seems like the breakout is finally upon us. 7 catches, 7 targets, 71 yards. Yeah, you got to love that. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 6 catches, 71 yards. Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb. He's very good. And Kareem Hunt pretty much just didn't do much other than score a touchdown. But you got to love that if you had to plug him in to your lineup this week, which I had to. So I was very happy with that. Ravens side of the ball. The Ravens only had 16 passing attempts. No game this season was less than 29. So, you know, while the Ravens have traditionally been a run-first offense, this is not something I expect to continue. I think the passing offense is going to be just fine. But one thing I did want to touch on before we go, welcome back, Mr. Gus Edwards. 16 carries, 66 yards, it's more like a honk because it's the Gus bus that we're all on. 2 touchdowns. Kenyon Drake had 11 carries for a whopping 5 yards. Gus Bus is available in 58% of Yahoo leagues. He's obviously worth a pickup, but is he that guy that's the empty the fab bank, drop everything, top waiver priority, honk? Are you picking up the Gus bus and dropping everything you have for him?
It's a little heavy. I don't think I'm dropping everything I have for Gus Edwards, but I'm definitely going out and making decent bids for him. Don't think 15 to 20% of fab is out of the question for him. I think he is the second best rusher on this team behind his quarterback. But I'm happy adding Gus Edwards. I was happy everything I saw from this game until J.K. Dobbins comes back. He is the show. Justice Hill, costly fumble today. Kenyon Drake did absolutely nothing with his carries.
Kenyon Drake is Kenyon Drake.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
So, yeah, I'm happy with Gus Edwards.
Simon JL, anything?
Yeah, I agree with Joey. It's we're not, Gus Edwards is not the type of play. Any of these Ravens running backs are not the type of guys you want to drop all of your fab on, because the Ravens don't use the running back like that. They're going to rotate. They're going to switch it up. We're going to see different backfields. Gus Edwards is someone I would be willing to put a decent amount of fab on because of J.K. Dobbins being placed on the IR, but I'm not spending all my fab on him.
Simon?
These guys nailed it.
There you go. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I would be a little more aggressive than what Joey said. I'd be willing to go more of the 50% realm, especially if you're running back needy. But yeah, like JL, you said it perfect. It's the Ravens' backfield is going to be a mess. I do think Gus Edwards will lead it until J.K. Dobbins comes back.
Guys, before we go, I know Sunday Night Football has kicked off. We had a question in here I wanted to hit from our friend Francisco, and then we're going to go watch some Sunday Night Football. Francisco, my man, wants to know, I traded A.J. Dillon, Gabriel Davis, and DeAndre Swift for Saquon Barkley and T. Higgins. Thoughts? Joey, I see you with the thumbs up. You liking this trade for Francisco?
Yeah, you got the one of, probably top 2 running back in the league, and then T. Higgins is fantastic. Easy top 12 wide receiver any given week. So yeah, you did really good here.
Nailed this trade.
This is hot, Francisco. Nice work, my friend.
Everyone
go enjoy your Pittsburgh Steelers, Miami Dolphins matchup. And thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. If you enjoyed what we're doing over here, head on over to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy and hit that subscribe button. We've got all sorts of content coming your way, one of our handsome faces, to make sure you're subbed over there. And before you leave this video, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed to FanDuel on YouTube. They have a whole team of killer content creators, not just these handsome faces, helping you guys win some money and win your leagues. Until next week, though, we are out of here. Adios, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday night.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.